there are so many hotspots, so many hot topics which you can look for. So there's a big field. Hepatology is very a big field. You can look for MASLD analysis, for biomarkers, for mitochondria activities. You can look even for artificial intelligence. A new hot topic is now exosomes in hepatology research. Of course, gut microbiota are really topics which should be analyzed, and there are animal welfare topics which can be analyzed. And so in my group, we have a lot of experiments going on in the different fields. So because I'm not fixed on a specific topic, because it is also, everything is so interesting for me that I might be interesting to look at it. And I'm funded by different organizations, for example, the German Research Foundation, the German AIDS for Krebs, for cancer, and there are also some national collaborations which are involved in, and even also international corporations. And actually, we are looking for different topics with special emphasis, for example, on fat. In particular, perilipins are very interesting for us, and also lipocalin 2, which are both two biomarkers which are strongly associated with NASH and MASH. And so this is the topics which we are looking for.
Many years ago, I happened to find different serum concentrations of copper in NAFLD patients as compared to controls. Now, I did not publish anything because I was not able to provide a consistent explanation, and I could not rule out chance findings. But now I have seen that this has come again on the stage. So yes. What is your perception of copper, the role of copper and inflammation other than in Wilson's disease?
Yeah, but Wilson disease is the prototype of this disease, and you can learn a lot from this disease for other diseases. As you might know, copper, if the concentration is high in the cell, you will get reactive oxygen species formation. And this is a strong trigger for getting inflammation. So if you found that copper is high, and maybe you have not looked at the status of Wilson disease expression or of the ATP-7B promoters, possibly in these patients are some genotypic alterations, maybe SNPs which are changed, that lead possibly to a higher expression or a higher concentration of copper in the serum, which would be very interesting. How you measured it? Is by atom absorption or how you measure copper?
It was actually, I think it came out for chance.
It
was included in a routine lab profile. Okay. And when we eventually developed these data, we thought that these differences that we registered between patients and controls, we had no explanations, and we avoided to publish this.
Why not? Why not? This is interesting. Because
yes,
if you look at these individuals with higher concentration of copper, if they have neurological differences, because this is a hallmark also for Wilson disease, they have some problems with the speech, with organization of their daily life, and the higher the concentration, the bad the symptoms. And possibly if it is a damage or a genetic alteration, it would be very interesting. I'm not sure how many patients we have analyzed, but I would have a stronger look or a closer look at those with the highest concentration.
We are going back to 20 years ago. We are going back 20 years ago data. And it was a shame that I did not go into details at that time. But I'm afraid it's too late now, because
but possibly if you look at the next patients, have a closer look at copper concentration in serum. Possibly you can repeat it and then have a closer look at the patients, which would be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, for example, if you have a mouse model and you make injections of copper, you know this maybe, they also get severe problems. The higher
Yeah.
concentration makes problems to them. And this maybe
So
would be interesting.
do you feel there is a similarity between copper and iron?
Yes, there are some similar phenotypes if you have hereditary chromatosis. You have also a strong liver damage if you don't treat the patients carefully. And so copper and iron, which are metals, they make really, if their concentration is too high, problems with oxidative stress and inflammation.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
I have a question to your journal. I have seen, Amedeo, that you worked a lot for the journal, really a lot. Each paper coming
Yes,
out, you are involved,
yes,
you are the editor, you look at each paper which is in press or whatever. It is a lot of work, isn't it?
yes, because Ralph, because I love this.
Yes.
I do
I
love
must
this.
admit that, yeah.
It is like
I
it
must,
isn't. It is
yeah,
like when you have a son, when you have a small child, and
yeah,
you give a lot of love to
yeah,
this young creature, and you look at his or her growth.
yes,
And this has happened to me with this journal, which
yeah,
I established in 2021, and now this is becoming um, is taking a great part in the scene because as
yes, yeah,
you participate in the webinar, there
yeah,
are so many high standard scientists who
yes,
credit our journal, and
yeah.
this is a great satisfaction for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're on a good way because you are now indexed in Scopus, which is
Yeah,
really a big, big step.
yeah,
And I have seen
yeah,
that you also mention an ESCI, which is also very
yeah,
important
yeah,
to
yeah.
increase the visibility of the journal.
Yes,
This
I'm
is really
very
good.
happy with this. And
Yeah,
regarding the topic of the webinar, what I wanted to point out is that we are open to all types of interventions,
yeah,
also critic interventions, because we have heard one voice, the voice of the MASLD nomenclature, but we want also to listen to more critical voices. And these are particularly coming from developing countries.
yes,
Many people are rejecting against this new nomenclature. Uh, Wrong or right, I do not want to go into details because
mm,
our journal is open to all people, all different opinions,
yeah.
and have the right to be represented.
But you know that there, in the hepatology field, there are two major journals, hepatology and journal hepatology, belonging to the ESLD and AASLD, and they are the mind makers in my view. So it is really hard to fight against them. But I think the most critical step for your journal would be if it would be possible to get in PubMed or Medline, which be
Yeah,
listing in there, because this I know from many colleagues is essential for those to get publications to a specific journal. So if your journal is not listed there, the visibility is really not high enough to attract high rank papers.
yes, actually, we have had, I think, not more than a couple of papers that
Yes.
have been indexed in PubMed
Yeah.
because they were sponsored by uh,
It's
institutions.
yes. Yes.
But
By
actually,
NIH,
this
I
is
know.
our next goal.
Yeah, this would be absolutely great. If you can manage that, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure that the impact factor will be there and everything will be fine.
I do my best, but I also need some help
Support.
from my friends.
Yeah.
And you are a friend of our journal. I would
Yes.
like to thank you for writing for us a good paper on diabetes and heart disease. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yeah, I will be happy if I can contribute to your journal and help to get increase the visibility.
Yes, I rely upon your support.
Yeah, that's great. I have seen your last comment, which I must admit that I was reviewer now, for your comment on MASLD, which was submitted by somebody. It's a good statement, I believe. A brief, short, good statement. And
Yes, this is an example. I think this is an example of how we want to voice those
yes,
who otherwise would not have voice or
yeah,
would have a low voice.
yes, but I think
Scholars, sorry.
it would be essential on such publications to get the author list a little bit different. Maybe to include Mary Rinella and so persons, or Scott Friedman, a good friend of mine in New York. He's really the guy who's the pope on the field. What he is doing
Yeah.
is like a law, and if you get the people on the author list, this would be great, I believe.
Yes, we want to involve as many colleagues as possible.
Yeah.
But I think there are some circles, there are
Yeah.
some closed circles,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to get in.
Yeah. From my personal view, I know that it is also hard to find reviewers for papers. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that you have the same problem because I'm working also in the field. I'm editorial board member of many journals, and I know that this is critical. And maybe you can increase it by putting the names of the reviewers on the final publication, and also try to get author credit for them. You know this, how to work? So if somebody review a paper, he can mention it in author. And this is also
yes.
for young people, if they write reviews, very attractive. This would be
I
also a
think
good possibility.
I think you have identified a critical point
Yeah,
because if we look at the publishing industry, this is an industry actually.
yeah, yes,
It is somewhat paradoxical that this industry, which generates in some cases a large amount of money, or which involves a large and also scientific interests and academic careers, and nevertheless, this is all founded on the voluntary works of
yes,
relatively few reviewers. So I
yeah,
think a critical point should be how can we reward these colleagues?
yeah,
Some of these have outstanding professionality, great expertise, and I think it's not correct that they should be working for free. What
mm.
is your opinion?
If you pay for reviews, you can be sure that the quality of the reviews gets much more better. This is for sure. Because if somebody get money, he will do all his best to show that he is really uh, allowed to get the money. So I'm sure that you also will get actually without money some reports which are really bad, only saying, okay, reference should be corrected and so on. But I think to
Yes.
get in deep, this would be great to get publications with reviewers that are paid or get waivers for your journal. This is also a possibility. Maybe if
Uh,
somebody has reviewed 3 or 4 papers for your journal, maybe you can put the next paper in your journal for free.
at the present time, uh, our publication policy is open access free for
Yes,
everyone at
yeah,
this time. Clearly, this is going to change
yeah,
in future, but I'm not directly involved in
mm,
this aspect. And when I ask you that whether or not we should reward reviewers, reward is a general term which does not necessarily
yeah,
imply money.
yeah,
And you mentioned, for example, that also the list of names of reviewers could be a reward. Getting
yes,
a voucher for
yeah,
publication in some journals could be another reward. But actually, I agree that probably money is a more universal language that everybody understands.
yeah,
Uh, so this is something we should be involved in, uh, although probably this is not to be,
yeah,
this is not a decision to be made at the level of editors-in-chief, but also involves the publisher policy.
Yes, yes. Because when I go to my email in the morning, I always get 10, each day 10 requests to write a report about the paper. And I do many reports about them, but I always decide if I get money, which is not the case usually, or how is the journal? Is it a good journal with impact factor, which listed in PubMed with author credit? I try to write the reports for them and not for journals without PubMed or without impact factor. And this is really, if money comes into the play, I would, or the young people would think about to write comments for your journal. I'm pretty sure.
And I think also the topic, one criterion, one of us may be like to follow is whether the topic they are proposing to you to act as a reviewer for, if this has anything to do with your particular expertise. For example, the last invitation I received yesterday morning was about veterinary medicine. It was about the length of chromosomes in cats.
This is really specialized topic.
Yes, I had to say I was not available. But so I'm asking also the criteria they follow to identify potential reviewers.
Yeah, but you can, if you are as a chief editor of your journal, maybe you can decide to do some special issues in your journal, which are hot topics. It should be hot topics, really hot topics. And I'm pretty sure, and then you invite maybe PhDs or MDs, which are at the early step of their career, but which are working in high-ranked journals or labs. And this would be really fantastic, because I'm sure that they will publish in your journal. If they are in a special journal or special issue with somebody who his name is very high.
Yes.
This would be also maybe a good suggestion.
Yes, we have many ongoing special issues. We have many.
I've seen that, yes.
And the problem might be that some of these special issues, which have already been launched, have not reached a minimum level of publications. So maybe we have to merge to make some assortments, some mergers of some special issues which have few publications to get one with more published papers. Yes,
I think the minimum number should be 8 publications in a special issue. This would be at least necessary. Yes.
We are trying to have at least 5.
Yeah, it's also good. Yeah. Okay.
I would be more liberal. I would also I would be satisfied with 2 or 3, but the journal would aim at 5.
Yeah. I had the special issue. I always make also special issue for other journals with Angelo Izzo. You know him, Angelo Izzo, who was passed away some years ago.
Not personally. Where does he work?
Yeah, he was in Italy working as something, and he also had a good opinion. If you in hepatology want to establish a special issue, just look at the great conferences, at the plenary section, and make this as a topic. This is also good, because the people, they think or they believe, or it is also the case, that this is really the hot topic. For example, HCV was a topic, therapy of HCV. Everybody wants to be with this topic. And so just have a look at ASLD and ESLD. What is the plenary section?
Yes, great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Angelo suggested.
Yeah, I do not know Angelo personally.
Yeah, he was quite a nice guy.
We'll see where he works, in which city, in which university, where. We'll check that.
Yeah. Maybe I can send you the details of him. the
Yeah,
details.
yes, that would be interesting because so we may involve him in the journal as well.
Yeah. Yes, it is a recent study of my laboratory. Possibly you know that Perilipin 5 belongs to the so-called lipid-associated protein. And Perilipin 5 is one member of this family, is responsible for the integrity of fat lipid droplets in the cell. And we found that if you take out Perilipin 5 out of the system, if you take a knockout mouse where Perilipin 5 is missing, these mice are protected against NASH and also against inflammatory response. And what is most important, they are protected against the development of hepatocellular carcinoma. And there we suggested how Perilipin 5 mediates its effect. And then we analyzed by NGS and also make some proteome analysis. We found that Perilipin 5 is a regulator of immunological and fat-associated proteins. And what we know when we take Perilipin 5 out of the system, we found that there's a dysregulation of respective genes. And this belongs to it because it changed some signaling pathways in the cells, which are attributed to fat metabolism and also to inflammation. And therefore, we think that targeting Perilipin 5 might be a good or beneficial therapeutic effect also for humans. This would be very cool to find somebody who is interested to think about how we can apply our findings to the human situation. Because I'm pretty convinced that targeting Perilipin 5 in NASH or NAFLD would be very interesting. Okay.
And thank you, Professor Ralf. And dear Professor Amedeo, do you have anything you'd like to add or share with us?
Yes, Ralf. If I can comment on this line of research regarding Perilipin 5, if I understand well, this is an example of translational medicine where you bring information from the bench, or you would like to bring this from the bench to the bedside. But do you also have examples where you can follow the other way round? For example, when you look at something in the patient and you go back to the bench.
Yes. Usually, traditionally, is the translational work from bench to bedside, as we have done it here from mouse to man or human. The other way around is a possible example, what you mentioned. You found in patients that copper is high in those which have NASH or NAFLD at that time. And then to go back, you can go for the Wilson disease model, where you have knockout models which are there and have the same effects. They have increased concentration of copper in the serum. And there you can learn a lot also for the patients. So it's always translational and retro-translational. It's the same. I think you need the basic science and also the clinical science, and the combination is good to get the information about specific diseases. So once again, it would be interesting to see the data of your copper patients. This would be interesting for somebody.
I am afraid it's too late, actually.
It's too late. It's too late. But
I'm afraid it's too late, actually.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a strong correlation about obesity, cardiac dysfunction, and also development of insulin resistance or diabetes. And so I think these diseases all belong to the same, which is very good that the terminology has changed to metabolic associated liver diseases, which is quite fitting into the field. Because if somebody has obesity, he has a high risk to develop cardiovascular diseases and also insulin resistance and diabetes. And the other way around, persons with diabetes, they are at risk to develop obesity and also NASH and NAFLD. And so I think it can't be, there's not a specific disease, you have a complex disease, which are metabolic disease. And I believe in the future, because the patients and all the individuals getting more and more old, and they also eat a lot, they drink a lot, they take a lot of sugar and fat in their diets. And I'm pretty sure that this will be one of the major problems in the future. And so science and also clinical research will focus on these associations to find new therapies or whatever. Because lifestyle changes are actually the only way to counteract these diseases, but I'm pretty sure that we need also some drugs to counteract the metabolic differences in these patients.
Ralf, I think when we speak about lifestyle changes, this to be a very complex issue because it also involves some industrial decisions. For example, the manufacturing of foodstuff, what they put inside in terms of preservatives, in terms of added fats and added sugar, as you mentioned before, for example, fructose, which is highly detrimental for liver cells. And it is also to be highlighted that the pressure that every one of us receives from society is a pressure to cultivate, to pursue behavioral changes in terms of sedentary behavior. So it is very difficult for each individual subject to cope with the pressures coming from the food industry, from the necessity to remain sitting many hours at work. So do you have any ideas about how society might react to this detrimental pressure which is being put on individual patients?
Yes, I think it will be essential if parents have some kids to go directly during their young age, not that the children drink soft drinks with fructose. You have to argue to the parents. This is essential at the very early step. And it would be also good to sensitize persons that their kids should do sports or whatever. They go out, not sit for the computer. Maybe you know it like you and me, 80% we are sitting for our computers, and we are sure that it's not good for our health. And if you look at the time, actually at the persons, the young guys which sitting hours and hours for their computers with doing nothing, not exercise, nothing, it is sure that they will get a problem with obesity on long term. And I guess it will be essential to sensitize the persons to change their behavior and also do differences in their food intake. So this would be the major step. And everybody must realize this, because it's not good to eat too much fat, too much fructose, too much sugars, to sit only there for computer. Lifestyle change is absolute essential.
There is a recent line of research highlighting the commonalities between depression, depressive disorders, which also affect the willingness to move, to avoid sedentary behavior, and to eat less. There are also Mendelian randomization studies showing that depression and liver disorders may be correlated.
Yes, but we see the same thing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Persons after COVID-19 infection, some of them have severe problems. They have depression. And interestingly, these patients also have a tendency to sit at home, do nothing, eat, and they get obesity. So there's a clear correlation. So it's a good point.
Thank you.